Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What can you call New York? A large city is a large city. Hanover was enough for me. As the writer Arno Schmidt defined it, are our large cities really indistinctive, with one large city like another large city? Or do they tell us their own story? This is a good question. If the answer is yes, which story can be told beyond practicality, marketing strategy, and economic thinking? Development as a structurally manifested attitude is self-presentation and affirmation. It is also anticipation of something that is, in little parts, and should first be something whole, the image of the city. Nowadays, the city is taking shape and thinking ahead more and more often through a segmented and influenced point of view. Is this sustainable? Absolutely not. We need to understand the city and urban development as a complex and sensible, completed work. We also need a policy of urban development that is successful through differentiated and creative, challenging spaces, through a mixture of various uses, through a commitment to change and openness, to integrate the individual projects of all work by the city, as well as a sincere dialogue between policy, planners, residents, and investors. And then also being able to tell a story of the future. Dear Professor Kroll, dear Professor Prominski, dear Professor von Seggern, and dear Professor Stockmann, dear conference participants. Since the enlightened times of Elektrosophie and Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, Herrenhausen was a place of dialogue between science, philosophy, art, and politics. In the name of the city of Hanover, I welcome you very much to this exciting conference in a place steeped in history. I have been asked to outline the current challenges to urban development politics. This is, however, not without a moment in the past. I would like to mention 3 special courses of action. First, the inner part of Hanover was more than 95% destroyed in World War II. The rest was approximately 2/3 destroyed. The Wonder of Hanover was the title on June the 3rd in 1959 in the news magazine Der Spiegel. It is the history of the conceptual reconstruction of Hanover into a large modern city. With an exemplary network of the urban highways and an inner urban ring of wide multi-line streets, with spacious green zones to the inner part of the city, with new, exemplary and many green areas of traversed residential complexes, the experiences of the firestorm in World War II in mind. Hanover obtained the right to be a modern large city. This was connected to the name of Rudolf Hillebrecht, then head of the Municipal Planning and Building Control Office in Hanover, and his name was known across Germany and beyond. During his time in office, in the middle of the 60s, there was also a decision for a future-orientated and efficient local public transport with the construction of the urban railway system, the Stadtbahn, as a subway in the inner city areas and as above-ground tram farther out. It was the city plans by Hillebrecht in the Building Authority that have provided the relevantly conceptual and coordinated work. In closer cooperation with freelance urban planners and architects in a culture of specialized and collegial exchange, and then with large competitions with regards to urban development. Second, the Expo 2000. The award for the first Universal World Exposition on German soil, the Expo 2000, initiated the next large boost of development. The motto, people, nature, technology, should be reflected in the urban development and design. A newer pattern for a part of town, the Kronsberg, arose with high ecological and energy efficient and social standards, thus as well-designed local recreation area. A well-built urban train network, the S-Bahn, up to the second ring took place around Hannover. The expulsion of a newer residential area in the surrounding area urgently took place at the urban train stop. A part of the city was upgraded, of the inner city was upgraded. For example, the Ernst-August-Platz in front of the renovated main station received a new, virtually car-free face and exemplary lighting by means of a braced rope net 10 meters high. The third example of the development of the city of Hannover that I would like to mention here is called Hannover City 2020 Plus. Here's only a short summary. A multi-year dialogue with interested residents and experts, we had advised on the future of our inner city. 4 areas of the inner city were finally defined as so-called intervention spaces and scheduled for transformation. This followed a multi-level international urban design competition. Action was underway in the meantime. New spaces, new residential and business buildings, new places for strolling, shopping, working, and a return to living in the city. The Leine, the river that flows through the center of the inner city, will be experienced again with newly designed riverbank areas. All of this can only be had as a dialogue between politics, administration, urban planners, investors, and the general public. And now, Hannover today. As cities such as Hannover grow, they have increasing dynamics. In the last few years, the number of residents has grown yearly by approximately 4,000 to 5,000 people. In the first half of 2015 alone, it was 3,100 people. Along with this, the federal state capital of Lower Saxony had around 532,000 residents. Approximately an additional 15,000 people have a secondary residence. The forecast predicts 545,000 residents by 2030, probably more, if the future movement of refugees are included. The city is a significant location for science in Germany, with Leibniz University, the universities for applied sciences, and institutions of higher education, with a total of 45,000 students, as well as additional scientific institutions with increased economic power. The economic profile of Hannover includes the automotive and supplier industries, insurance, banking and services, as well as the Deutsche Messe AG. What does it mean for our city? Which challenges will we have to meet? Apartments need to be built, social and education infrastructure must be built, workplaces and commercial spaces must be created, and culture, sports and local recreation must not end up too short. The sustainable and social development of the city as an urban living space for all groups of people is the theme of the urban development process My Hannover 2030. In light of the serious demographic processes, population growth, aging, and immigration, as well as global trends, we also ask, how do we want to live, reside, and work in 2030? How do we want to learn? How can we interweave the economy and the science for the better? Or bring the economy and ecology in harmony? How do we want to make our infrastructure fit for the future, as well as buildings, streets, roads, and public transport? How do we organize migration and participation? And how do you finance all of this? The various demands require planning ideas and a flair for the social needs of various groups. A comprehensive culture of participation is therefore very important in the dialogue and planning process. My Hannover 2030 builds on previous concepts and actions of all communal political areas of activity. It then reverts to the tradition of participation of earlier processes. In the last half of the year, an intensive dialogue phase occurred with all participants, public, political, and administrative, with the goals and strategies for future development and discussion. An emphasis was to use the diversity of our urban society as an essential element, along with the engaged interest groups, voluntary and participating residents. We also want to include those who currently have not seen sufficient opportunity to actively bring them into the design of the city, thereby having not only referred to the proven participation format, but having also gone down entirely new path. For example, there was a participant at an event per random number generator. There was a special format for children and young people, a format for the disabled, and the format for people with a history of migration. First of all, it is never easy for urban administration and politicians. That means first and foremost, listen. Use and understand the wisdom of the crowds and listen. If, for example, children present their future visions of flying cars and living tree houses, it sounds like a utopia. If the difficulties of wheelchair users when coping with cobblestones were brought to bear, it was described by us to us by how a barrier-free living looks from your point of view. Then it will provoke thought of us. But if one reflects on it, which goals and strategies are behind it, then one is quick to offer appropriate and affordable living concepts for all in the city, offering free spaces for leisure and recreation. One is in a city that fortifies neighborhoods and supports families. And one is in a city that reproaches the complete concept of mobility that excludes no one. For example, it was discussed how the residential development in the coming 15 years can be increased. We need around 10,000 new apartments and flats. An alliance for residents with the housing sector is being prepared. Reacting is not only in a quantitative sense for the requirements of the residential market, but also quality urban construction is required. Demands of different generations and user groups must be taken into account for neighborhood development. Similarly, the economic and commercial space development, as well as the environmental and green space planning. The development of infrastructure for childcare, schools, sports, and culture need to keep us step by step with a dynamic population development. Issues of care and mobility are becoming more and more important. The city of short distances with respect to the demographic change is an excellent planning criterion. While young people are using more and more flexible and communicative opportunities, the older generation is dependent on accessibility and proximity. This is the challenge that needs to be met at the Urban Development Concept 2030. With the increased migration of refugees, that has presented an additional challenge. It not only touches an accommodation in the most acceptable form possible of housing conditions, but also social and cultural integration in our urban society. The results of this process influenced the concept of urban development by Hannover 2030. After the presentation of this concept at the turn of the year 2015-16, possibilities, suggestions, and comments can still be committed. The final master plan should be decided by the Council before the summer recess in 2016. Let me finally mention that we have recently started on a project with the program My Neighborhood 2030 that places the focus on the future of life in a single city district. The goal is to develop all 13 city districts in an intensive dialogue and a future-orientated concept of development. Ladies and gentlemen, let's walk urban landscape, new pathways in landscape design. As the city of Hannover, we are currently very eager for your observations, your ideas, and your concepts for a forward-looking city development. Thank you very much.